Penetration testing is kind of exciting because no two penetration tests are done the same way, and they shouldn't be. My name's Nick Pier. I am the Director of DevSecOps at CDI. Part of that role involves leading a team of penetration testers under what we call our red team. Penetration testing takes multiple forms. We might get hired by some organizations to challenge their network defenses or to socially engineer their staff, and usually that's called a network penetration test. And we can do it from outside a customer's network, kind of from the perspective of an attacker on the internet trying to gain internal entry. But we also do what are called internal network penetration tests, and those operate under the assumption that eventually an attacker will gain access to an end user system or a server. So how well do your defenses perform at that point in time? Can someone move laterally? Can they exfiltrate data? Can they gain privileges within the environment, get to your backups, get to intellectual property or privileged information that you don't want them to have access to? When we do every penetration test, they could be external or internal, but they all start with some form of discovery and research about the organization. If we're starting from inside in an internal penetration test, we might be doing network scans and probing to identify and fingerprint the devices that are in your infrastructure. If we're outside, we might start with what we call OSINT, or open source intelligence, where we start researching information about your staff. We can go to things like LinkedIn, look at your website, we can crawl the internet and do searches for names and things associated with your domains. And we're going to try to put together a picture of your organization, right? Who works there, their titles, their email addresses, what external services do you expose? We might also get through network scan and the like. And based upon all this, we're going to put together plans of attack, and we're ultimately going to launch those attacks against you. Why should you do penetration testing with CDI? Well, one of the first things I want to call out is that when you're working with us, you're working with a real red team. That means we have a team of ethical hackers that are going to try to break in. We are not just using automated tools and giving you a report. There is a human behind all this, able to make some leaps that honestly the tools today just can't do.
I'm Nolan Forrest. I'm the team lead for the red team. The red team it can come from many different lights. It really comes from the military, the red team being the offensive or the bad guy, the attacker. So our goal is conducting offensive operations. So we're going to try to do a pen test, vulnerability scan, things that are going to really try to test your security, versus the blue team who's really trying to defend against the actions that we're trying to take against your environment. I think the really important part to make sure that people understand is that our pen tests are really, really focused on communication, and that seems to be from us being on the other side of pen tests in the past of other companies and having to work for different groups. We understand what customers really desire, what we can do better, and we really try to differentiate ourselves in execution around the pen test.
We also greatly value the quality of our reports. We often combine our penetration tests with a gap assessment, and we're able to provide not only things that should be immediately remediated in terms of findings from the pen test, but also more strategic roadmap items like controls that you should put in place, controls which were continuously circumvented. Also give you some insights into what is working, right? You also want to know, what you're doing and how is it performing, so that you don't give up on implementing controls that are effective. Last thing I want to call out is our cyber advisory program, which is where we offer a 12-month engagement wrapping penetration testing, gap assessment, vCISO services, vulnerability scanning, and remediation, leveraging the full value of all that CDI has to offer into really what I think of as a cybersecurity program in a box. So if you haven't spoken to us about that yet, I would strongly recommend it.